You're now listening to the Engage the Rockies podcast, your go-to podcast for local and state issues concerning Colorado.
Hello, Colorado. This is the Engage the Rockies Week in Review podcast for the week of July 22nd to the 26th. If you'd like the show notes with the links to the stories we're covering today, please visit engagetherockies.com and sign up to our email. Every Friday, we'll send you the list of articles when a new episode is released. From around the state, the Colorado Democratic Party and the state's delegation to next month's Democratic National Convention on Tuesday formally endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris to be the party's presidential nominee, adding to support she received from the state delegation since President Joe Biden announced Sunday that he was withdrawing from the race and endorsing Harris. Democratic officials said about 95% of the state party's Central Committee and convention delegation voted to back Harris in an online straw poll conducted since Monday evening, when more than 300 members of both groups convened for a virtual meeting to discuss making the endorsement. Moving on a razor-thin 4-3 vote, the Westminster City Council this week knocked down a proposal that would have opted out of a new state law that prohibits firearms from being brought into local government buildings. But across town, members of the Aurora City Council gave initial unanimous approval to a similar ordinance, exercising a provision that allows local communities to cast off the gun restriction for their own property. The elected leaders of Colorado's third largest city will have to take a second vote on the issue next month to make it final. The diverging votes, both taken Monday night, come as a growing number of Colorado cities and counties are opting out of the law. Passed by the legislature as Senate Bill 131, it prohibits a person from knowingly carrying a firearm both openly and concealed in municipal or county buildings, courthouses, polling places, and public or private schools, universities, and child care centers. About a dozen counties, cities, and towns across the state have opted out of the law, which took effect July 1st. They include El Paso County, Douglas, Teller, Mesa, and Morgan counties, along with Palmer Lake, Monument, and Castle Rock. Moving on. Just days after Mayor Mike Johnston urged Denver voters to pass an affordable housing sales tax this November, City Council members on Wednesday questioned if the measure was ready for the ballot and delayed its progress for at least 2 weeks. Members led by Councilwoman Jamie Torres cited numerous concerns during a committee hearing, including a lack of specificity in the proposed ordinance language. Torres said she wanted to provide voters with a clearer picture of just what the 0.5% sales tax, an increase on top of Denver's current 8.81% effective rate, would pay for. Johnson unveiled his proposed tax July 8th, and it featured prominently in the State of the City address on Monday. Torres said she was looking for assurances that more of the tax proceeds would be focused on creating more housing for households making 60% or less of the area's median income, rather than being spent to serve a broader range of earners. The income limit to qualify at the 60% level varies by household size, but is $78,240 per year for a family of 4, according to city guidelines. Moving on, a Colorado judge issued an order temporarily blocking the proposed $25 billion merger between Kroger and Albertsons, which has been challenged by the state attorney general, according to court documents. Kroger is the parent company of King Soopers in Colorado, and Albertsons runs the Safeway chain in the state. At a hearing in Denver on Thursday, Judge Andrew Luxon granted a preliminary injunction halting the deal and canceled a hearing set for August 12th. Colorado is concerned the merger would eliminate grocery competition, and planned divestitures to a grocer with no stores in the West would lead to closures. Meanwhile, the grocers maintain the merger would not shut down stores, will reduce food prices, and C&S Wholesale Grocers is experienced enough to operate grocery stores. Kroger and Albertsons have stated the merger would help them compete against the rise of supermarkets and online shopping giants such as Walmart and Amazon. The grocers originally tried to dismiss Colorado's lawsuit, arguing it was redundant since the Federal Trade Commission is also suing against their merger. A Denver district court disagreed, ruling that the state has as much right to enforce monopoly laws as federal officials do. In local El Paso County news, Colorado Springs has been selected to participate in the 2026 census test, the first of 2 anticipated on-the-ground tests to be conducted in preparation for the 2030 census. According to the Monday announcement from the U.S. Census Bureau, Colorado Springs is one of 6 cities across the south and western portions of the nation selected for the 2026 test intended to evaluate the viability of innovations and enhancements planned for the 2030 census, with particular focus on improving the count of hard-to-count and historically undercounted populations, officials said. Along with Colorado Springs, tests will also be conducted in Huntsville, Alabama, selected metro areas of Spartanburg, South Carolina, tribal lands within Arizona, including the Fort Apache Reservation and the San Carlos Reservation, select counties in western Texas, and select counties in western North Carolina. According to U.S. Census officials, the cities selected provide the ideal opportunity to test changes and enhancements to the census test under real, on-the-ground conditions on a larger scale than research alone allows. Moving on, 2 competing questions that would either legalize recreational marijuana sales within Colorado Springs boundaries or outlaw them by city charter could end up in the November ballot, leaving residents with the power to decide once again. Councilwoman Lynette Crow Iverson on Monday introduced a proposed charter amendment seeking to prohibit retail marijuana establishments such as stores and product, manufacturing, testing, and cultivation facilities from operating within city boundaries. The council informally agreed to vote at a future regular meeting whether to send a question to voters in the fall that would amend the city charter. If voters approved, it would effectively ban recreational marijuana sales in Colorado Springs, City Attorney Bill Bollinger said Monday. Voters would only be able to change the city charter through another public vote. At the same time, a committee of residents is working to submit enough valid signatures to petition a question onto the November ballot that proposes authorizing recreational marijuana sales within Colorado Springs boundaries. Currently, only medical weed can be sold in the city. Under the residents' proposal, only existing medical marijuana licensees in Colorado Springs could become licensed recreational pot businesses. Their proposal would also limit the number of retail marijuana licenses so they do not exceed the number of existing medical marijuana licenses in the city as of November 5th, the day of the general election. And lastly, the quarrel between Colorado Republican Party Chairman Dave Williams and a group of Republicans attempting to oust him from his position spilled over into local party politics this week when the El Paso County GOP's governing board voted to reprimand the party's second-in-command for spearheading the move to fire Williams, among other alleged malicious acts. Add it to a growing pile of contradictory censure resolutions, disputed party meetings, dueling cease and desist orders, lawsuits both filed and threatened, and daily accusations that the other side is engaging in illegal activities, all part of a months-long struggle for control of the Colorado GOP. It could come to a head Saturday at a church in Brighton when members of the State Republican Central Committee convene to decide whether to replace Williams and other party officers who have told committee members to skip the meeting, calling it fraudulent. A censure resolution pushed by El Paso County GOP Chairwoman Vicki Tompkins and approved Tuesday night by the county party's executive committee calls on County Vice Chairman Todd Watkins to resign immediately after having, quote, lost all trust of the chair. But Watkins told Colorado Politics he's staying put. Those are your top stories for the week of July 22nd through July 26th. Please tune in each Friday for your weekend review from Engage the Rockies. Please continue to like, share, and subscribe for more great content. If you'd like the full articles from the stories we read today, sign up to our email list at engagetherockies.com and we'll send you our show notes each week. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Engage the Rockies podcast, your go-to podcast for local and state issues concerning Colorado.